Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a beautiful princess named Snow White. She was known throughout the land for her fairness and grace, which was why she was called Snow White. Her parents, the king and queen, loved her dearly, and they often spent time together, playing games and going on adventures in the nearby woods. One day, Snow White's parents passed away and she was left alone in the kingdom. The kingdom was ruled by an evil stepmother who was jealous of Snow White's beauty. She did not want anyone to be more beautiful than her, and so she ordered the huntsman to take Snow White into the forest and leave her there to die. The huntsman, being a kind-hearted man, could not bring himself to kill Snow White, so he left her in the forest and told her to never return to the kingdom. Snow White was frightened and alone, but she was a brave girl and she set out to find a way back home. As she walked through the forest, she came across a clearing where she saw 7 small men, known as the 7 dwarfs, digging for gems. They were bashful, dark, grumpy, happy, sleepy, sneezy, and dopey. Snow White approached them and they took her in, letting her stay in their cottage. They fell in love with Snow White and they treated her like one of their own. The evil stepmother soon found out that Snow White was still alive and she was filled with anger and jealousy. She decided to kill Snow White herself, and she transformed herself into an old woman and went to the cottage disguised as a friendly peasant. When she arrived, she offered Snow White a poisoned apple, and Snow White, not suspecting anything, took a bite. The poison worked quickly and Snow White fell into a deep sleep. The dwarfs were devastated and they placed Snow White in a glass coffin, hoping that one day, she would wake up. Years went by and Snow White remained in her slumber. One day, a prince was traveling through the forest and he stumbled upon the cottage. He was immediately taken by Snow White's beauty and he bent down to kiss her, hoping to wake her from her sleep. As soon as the prince's lips touched Snow White's, she woke up and they both knew that they were meant to be together. They returned to the kingdom and Snow White was reunited with her stepmother, who was shocked to see her alive. The prince and Snow White were married in a grand ceremony and they lived happily ever after. The evil stepmother was banished from the kingdom and she was never heard from again. Snow White and the prince ruled the kingdom with kindness and fairness, bringing peace and prosperity to all who lived there. The 7 dwarfs continued to live in the cottage in the forest and they were often visited by Snow White and the prince, who never forgot the kindness they had shown her when she was lost and alone. And so, the story of Snow White lives on, a testament to the power of true love and the bravery of a young girl who refused to be defeated by an evil stepmother. Snow White and the prince lived happily ever after and they had many children, who grew up to be just as kind and fair as their parents. The kingdom flourished and Snow White was remembered as a beautiful princess who was loved by all. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video.